Hello and welcome to the Thursday, April 3rd meeting of TV Toastmasters. My name is Rick Barron and I'm the Vice President of Public Relations. Welcome to the Toastmasters in the studio and those of you out there in the viewing audience, whether you're sitting at home with the remote control or you're on YouTube, sitting at your desk, enjoying our show from the comfort of your office, your cubicle, your cell phone, wherever technology has allowed you to sit in on our meeting today. We have an exciting meeting today. We're all looking forward to what's ahead of us. And I'd like to introduce the leader of the excitement today, our Toastmaster, Steve Ahrenholz, Distinguished Toastmaster and the club's Sergeant at Arms. Steve?
Thank you, Rick. Yes, we have, I think, a pretty good meeting in store for everyone tonight. I'm the Toastmaster. I am also going to be the Tabletopics Master tonight. Tabletopics is where we practice our impromptu speaking, learning to think on our feet and respond to a question that has just been given to us. So the people that I'll be calling on in our studio tonight will be given a question and they'll basically have the amount of time it takes them to get up here to come up with a response. It's actually a little speech. They do an opening, a body, and a conclusion. I have to tell you, I had put together a number of questions tonight before I left work. I printed it out, and when I got here, I could not find it. So I have a book that I had put in the trunk of my car because I thought it was pretty neat. It has a variety of things in it. It's the book of useless information. Thousands of things you didn't think you needed to know and probably don't. But I'm going to pull my questions out of here tonight. We'll see how everyone does. Since there's a small group of us here tonight, I think I'm going to basically take the opportunity to call on everyone for table topics. We ordinarily don't ask the people giving prepared speeches to do table topics, but I'm beating the bushes for participants tonight, so I'm going to call on everyone.
Ooh, call me.
All right. Our first question. Did you know that eating raw onions is good for unblocking a stuffed nose? Tell us what you do when you have a head cold, you're all stuffed up and congested. What do you do to get some relief so that you can actually breathe? Carol Cormeling?
Funny that you should say that. I didn't think of the onion, but we always, when I was growing up, we always ate onion and Limburger cheese and an onion Limburger cheese on bread. And that helped clear our heads for the head cold. But what I did, because I couldn't hardly breathe, my nose was all stopped up. I never get colds, but I had a stopped up nose. And it's disgusting, really. I used a neti pot where you squeeze the water up one nostril and it comes out the other and you see all that junk going there and you go, ugh, yuck. But it really did help clear my head, and I thought, oh, good, it's gone. Well, it came back worse than ever after that. I don't know what happened, but it's just now beginning to go away. And it kind of is panicky when you cannot breathe and you're going, I can't breathe. And it doesn't feel very good. But I forgot about the onion that I had used as a cold remedy growing up, and it really worked. Thank you for reminding me.
Well, I don't know. A Limburger cheese with that sounds like a fairly lethal combination. The neti pots actually are pretty good for flushing out your sinuses, your nasal passages. My wife uses that after she's been working out in the yard because she has asthma. And so it helps clear out a lot of the pollen and dust and things like that. So it actually has a lot more to it than you might think, even though it initially might sound rather rude. Next item. Did you know that the national anthem of Greece has 158 verses? Share with us, what do you think of when you sing our national anthem? Ram?
Thank you, Steve. Unfortunately, I do not know the American national anthem, but I know my national anthem, basically Indian national anthem. And surprisingly, while I was growing up, I learned two different versions of national anthem. One is when the British ruled us. We have a totally different national anthem for that. And one is when we were fighting for our freedom struggle. So both of them have very different flavors. The one that we sing, remembering our freedom struggle, is very motivating to go and do something for the country. But the second one, which was written for the British people, especially for the Queen of England, it was all about her glory and the glory of India and how they two came together. It has a totally different tone. So that is the one which was used as a national anthem, which is more popular, is the one that was created for the British people. But it is very subtle. It doesn't clearly say the name of the queen, but there are subtle references which, if you go into depth of the language, you will realize. Many people do not know that. So it's a quite interesting subject. There are many debates and arguments and discussion on national anthem in our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. I didn't realize that. I wonder if they made it. I wonder if they made the version when India was a colony of Britain. I wonder if they made it so subtle because they figured they would have India as a colony for a really long time, and so that way they didn't have to try to work in the name of a different queen. This next one is interesting. A single share of Coca-Cola stock purchased in 1919 when the company went public would have been worth $92,500 in 1997. I don't know how much more it would be worth now. My question is, tell us about something you have acquired, and it can be most anything, that increased in value to you, and that can be either monetary or otherwise, and why? Rick?
Thank you, Steve. Something that I own that is increased in value over the time that I've had it. If I think back on my life of all the things that I have accumulated, I have material things, I have experiences, I have education, I have all kinds of things like that that have come to me through various different avenues, devices, and other types of acquisitions. And reflecting back on them all, it's difficult to select a single one that I would say, this one is the one that I latch onto. But recently, I may have shared here that I lost my father. And it was rather unexpected. It wasn't something that, it was rather unexpected. And so one of the things that I cherish the most now is a picture that I have sitting on the hutch next to my desk of the two of us on the California coast. We stopped along the way to do some sightseeing and to stretch our legs, and we're both standing there smiling with this gorgeous view behind us. Just absolutely fabulous. And every time I turn my eye to gaze at the photograph, I not only get to relive the experience of spending time there with my father, but to reflect on the meaning and the importance that having him in my life for so long has had. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Rick. If I remember correctly, you and your dad had gone on a pretty lengthy cross-country trip, too, not all that long before he passed away. So that was some really nice time that you got to spend with him, and unexpectedly and unknowingly, you actually got to spend some nice quality time with him before you lost him. So yeah, that sounds really nice. Okay, I need to find one more question here. All right. Bamboo the world's tallest grass can grow up to 90 centimeters in a day. Tell us about some experience you've had with either trying to get something to grow or something in your yard or dealing with weeds, something like that, that seems to you to grow pretty fast in a day. Jean?
Okay. Well, that's going to be a pretty tough one because I have a black thumb, is what I call it. I have been given plants, and unfortunately, they never survived a year, sadly. But by some miracle, a couple years ago, my best friend sent me a plant for my birthday. And apparently she forgot that I do not have a green thumb. So I warned her, as much as I appreciate the birthday present, I'd do my best to keep it alive as long as I could. Well, it's been a couple years, and by some miracle, that plant has miraculously grown from 2 plants to 4 plants. I don't know what I did, but obviously either it likes the spot that I put it in, which is by the window, or it's just that it's like the company with other plants that I put it next to. So I am surprised whenever I look at it that it still survives. And when I looked at it today, there were some flowers actually blooming, and my thought was, if it grows anymore, where am I going to plant this? So I believe that I may have either a magic plant or I'm really improving on my green thumb or my black thumb. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Sounds like you've got a rather robust plant. And you didn't say it was silk, so it actually is a living plant.
That's what I usually have.
That's pretty neat. Or maybe it's doing that just to spite you. I don't know. Now we're going to move on with our prepared speech portion of the meeting. We have 2 speeches we're going to hear this evening. Both of them are working out of the Competent Communicators Manual. Our first speech we're going to hear from one of our newest members. He may be our newest member. This will be an icebreaker speech. The icebreaker speech is the first speech that a Toastmaster gives from the Competent Communicator Manual. One of the objectives is to get them up in front of the club speaking about a topic that they know more about than anybody else, and it's also an opportunity for them to introduce themselves a bit to the club. Our speech that we're going to hear tonight is from Ram Karpur. The title of the speech is, Which is the Important Question? Which is the Important Question? Ram Karpur.
Which is the important question? Who are you? Or who am I? If you go anywhere, for example in a restaurant, and you stand outside and read the menu, it's not going to satisfy you unless you go in the restaurant and eat the food. So really, trying to know more about you is not going to help me at all. It might be some information, but that's it. It's not going to help me in my life a lot. The more important question is, who am I? That is what is going to solve all the problems in my life. That is what is going to help me in my life. In achieving success, in achieving health, maintaining health. Let me tell you a small story about my life. When I was a kid, I suffered from a very bad disorder. It's called bedwetting. So what is bedwetting is, a kid, when he passes urine, he has no control on his bladder when he is asleep. When he is awake, he has absolutely very good control. But when he is asleep, he has no control. So it was quite embarrassing for me. I was very anxious. What if my friends came to know about it? What if my cousins came to know about it? They would laugh at me. So I developed a lot of issues while growing up. My mother tried very hard to fix those issues in her own possible ways. She took me to so many different types of doctors, but nothing worked. I took medication for years. It never solved my problem. And in my heart, I knew medication cannot fix this problem because this is not something bacteria or viruses which is affecting me. It's something related to me. It's not functioning. So when I was in 5th grade, my mom one time told me, why don't you go and join a yoga class? I said, okay, let's try that too. Why not? So I went there and I found a great master who helped me understand what yoga is about, what meditation is about. But then he asked me, why do you want to learn yoga? I told him my problem. I was very afraid. I was shy. I didn't know how to tell it. But I overcame my fear and I told him. He understood my problem and very compassionately he explained to me that my problem is twofold. He said, I have lower consciousness in my sleep and I have lower nervous control over my bladder. It clicked. I understood logically what the issue was. So obviously the solution was to raise my consciousness and to raise my nervous control. It was very easy to understand. And then he gave me techniques on how to increase the consciousness and how to increase the nervous control. There are so many techniques he taught me and I worked on it very hard because that was the only hope. Medication could not cure me. I knew that because it was something to do about me. He gave me some techniques wherein I was able to sleep more consciously. I practiced it for 2 months and by the end of 2 months, I slept very light. The moment my bladder was full, I came to know. I woke up, went to the restroom, released myself. And from that day on, not a single day. And that's how I healed myself. So the knowledge is the key to your liberation, I feel. The knowledge of the self. You have to know about yourself to liberate yourself from all kinds of issues. I see many people suffering just because they don't have the knowledge. Our society, we don't have a facility where they teach us about ourselves. If you are sick, what do they tell you? You should go to a doctor. You should go to a doctor because doctor is one who knows about you. It's kind of dependency. I don't like that. So I took the control of my life in my own hand. That's why I always say, which is the more important question? Who are you or who am I? Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ram. Here, do you want to take this along? We'll take a moment of quiet for Ram's evaluator to complete his evaluation form, and we'll be right back.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
Welcome back. We're going to hear from our second speaker this evening. He's going to be giving us a speech from the Competent Communication Manual to Persuade with Power. It's the 9th project. Do you ever wonder why you're challenged with some of the seemingly insane ideas that enter your mind? After listening to Rick's speech, you'll embrace them as opportunities instead of mindless mind chatter. Rick placed 3rd in the Loop Division Speech Contest with his Brilliant Insanity speech. Let's welcome Rick Barron. He'll be completing project number 9 in the Competent Communication Manual, Persuading with Power. His speech title is Brilliant Insanity. Brilliant Insanity, Rick.
Thank you, Steve. Has anyone besides me had their life turn out differently than you anticipated? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and anyone else who's ever dreamt of what you could achieve. I graduated from college in 1986, landing my dream job as an IT professional, making diapers for Procter & Gamble. I had visions of success that first day at work, impressing managers with my... I didn't get enough sleep last night to do this, apparently. Has anyone besides me had their life turn out differently than you intended? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and anyone else who's ever dreamt of what you could achieve. I graduated from college in 1986, landing my dream job as an IT professional, making diapers for Procter & Gamble. I had visions of success my first day at work, impressing managers with my brilliance, soaring up the corporate ladder to become P&G's first CEO from an IT career path. I dazzled them, getting my first big break at the age of 25. I was selected as the new IT manager for a $300 million business at P&G's largest manufacturing plant in the world, making toilet paper in a town with a population of 330 people. My 3-year assignment stretched into 5. I didn't complain. I was willing to pay the price to achieve my goals. Plant leadership loved me, giving me rave reviews and spectacular raises. When I returned to Cincinnati, I expected a promotion for enduring 3 long years in Duck Dynasty. I was rewarded with my own office in an old closet under a stairwell, decades before Harry Potter. I sat in that basement closet reflecting on the career vision I had that first day at work. I had returned to Cincinnati 7 years later, a married man, living the American nightmare, a job I hated, a mortgage I couldn't afford, and 2 car payments. Heeding the advice of family, friends, and my conservative conscience, I resigned myself to sticking it out for a few more years. 7 years turned into 10, 10 into 20, 20 into 24 years. 17 additional years of going with the flow. My dreams of soaring up the corporate ladder had gone from being P&G's first IT CEO to not rocking the boat and jeopardizing the security that I believed was mine. In January 2010, I was sitting at home on a Saturday morning reading one of those inspirational emails. A quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. What lies behind you and what lies before you are tiny matters compared to what lies within you. I wondered, what still lies within me? And began reflecting on the times in my life when I'd felt the most alive. I recalled the time in college when I played hooky from class to jump 2,500 feet from a perfectly good airplane. The idea seemed insane at the time, but looking back on it, it's the one day I remember clearly from an otherwise clouded college experience. I vividly remember standing on the strut of that single-engine plane, terrified to let go of the security that I felt underneath that wing, and the exhilaration and sensory overload as I fell backwards to earth. There was also that time I set my scuba diving depth record, 152 feet, requiring some insane equipment and exceptional training. I remembered clinging to the side of the boat, fearful to descend into the unknown depths that lie below, and then the exhilaration and sense of accomplishment from the experience. That Monday, when I returned to work, I got an email. P&G was cutting back, and I qualified for early retirement with a severance package to sweeten the deal. While hovering the mouse pointer over the accept button, I realized that the times in my life when I had the most fulfillment were all times when I had let go of the security I thought I had, releasing my death grip on the wing of that single-engine plane to soar through the sky like a majestic eagle, descending into the cold green waters of Lake Huron to scuba dive where few dare. And now the opportunity to release myself from a career at a company that most people considered lifetime employment. I clicked it. The next few months were like free falling from that airplane. Only this time, my parachute didn't open. My business partner quit. The severance money ran out. But I woke up every day feeling alive, confident, and looking forward to what lay ahead. That's when it happened. A headhunter called me to say P&G needed my expertise and wanted me back as a consultant for a diaper project. Now, I make more money, work fewer hours, and best of all, I don't have to deal with the employee politics. My friends, co-workers, and conservative conscience thought leaving P&G absolutely insane. Yet, if I'd failed to take that leap, I would have never discovered what truly lies within me. I realized that many of us go through life clinging to an external force for our security, but that in the end, our security, our creativity, and our dreams all lie within us. All we have to do is let go to discover the brilliance of our insanity. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rick. We'll take a minute now for Rick's evaluator to complete their evaluation, and we'll be back shortly.
What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join.
Welcome back. Now we're going to move on to that portion of our meeting which we refer to as the evaluation component of the meeting. In Toastmasters, one of the things that you always receive at a Toastmasters meeting is feedback. Particularly, the prepared speakers will receive individual feedback from their evaluators on what they did well. They'll also get some perspective on things they might want to do a little bit differently to enhance their speaking skills. And then they will get a little summation of their presentation from the evaluator as far as what they thought of their presentation. We'll also get some feedback on a few other aspects of our meeting. At this moment, what I'd like to do is introduce our general evaluator for this part of our meeting. Carol Kormelink, DTM, is our evaluator, our general evaluator for this evening. Carol?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our unseen guest at home. Thank you for tuning in. We will have the fun part of our meeting. As general evaluator, as Rick said, I introduce the evaluators, and then I evaluate the meeting, and I see if I can come up with anything that the evaluator might have missed that he could have added in the evaluation, that he or she could have added in the evaluation. Our first evaluator this evening, evaluating Rom's icebreaker speech, is Rick Barron. Rick Barron.
Thank you, Carol. Who are you? Who am I? Deep questions to answer in an icebreaker speech. And Rom, you did an absolutely fabulous job. I don't know that I've heard an icebreaker speech that was as well done, as well rehearsed and as insightful as the one that you gave. Very comfortable and confident up here at the lectern. You had your phone up here, but I can't say that I ever saw you reference it. It was more like a little security blanket, I think, that you used while you were up here. And that seemed to do well for you because you didn't need it at all. Very comfortable up here, very confident. Good eye contact with us and the audience and with the camera, I think, at times as well, including the camera and the people in the television audience as part of your group that you were speaking to. You use some advanced techniques in your icebreaker speech. The first one is opening with a question, because what that does is you hook the people in the audience. And which is the important question? We all sat there waiting with anticipation. So you got us with the hook. And then you went on to share a very personal experience that most people probably only tell their therapist. And now you've told everyone in the world and the internet as well. So that tells me that there's nothing in your life that's closed, that you're a very open book. And that's what I learned about you by the speech that you gave up here. I had one thing, only one minor thing that I would suggest, and that was, I think at times you moved over here while you were speaking. And depending on which camera is being used, that could be a problem. If we're using the middle camera, that typically works okay. But moving to one side or the other, in some cases makes you get cut off because this camera or this camera, we don't really follow you around. We just have them set to catch the headshot. So that's, trivial thing that you really don't expect in an icebreaker speech, but you covered so many advanced things that I thought that you were ready for something like that. That it's about, at least in this environment, working with the space that you have, using gestures, maybe coming back and forward a little bit, using vocal variety. The speech that you gave was well rehearsed, well written, well thought out, and well executed. I couldn't really find anything that I would say that you needed to change. Ms. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Rick. Our next evaluator this evening to evaluate Rick Barron's speech will be Jean Ho. Are you going to do the timing? Yes, okay. Jean Ho will be evaluating Rick Barron's brilliant insanity speech. Let us welcome Jean Ho.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for me to evaluate Rick because Rick is more, he has more experience than I have. I've only done, not many evaluations and not many speeches yet. So I'm going to have to say that I was very taken up with Rick's topic. And forgive me here while I move my glasses here. I'm farsighted. I do believe that Rick did speak with sincerity and conviction because he had such emotion and expression, and talking about his background experience, it kind of made you follow with what he was thinking of when you yourself starts out and, have that dream of making something big out of yourself. I believe that his speech did capture the audience attention because, of course, it's something that we are all can associate with our background, wanting to reach that American dream to become better than what we started out with. And I enjoyed hearing about his background with what he did in P&G as to what he did afterwards to get the idea that he felt that he could let go and do other things rather than to hold on. It's something that I've experienced myself, so I understand when you're let go, it doesn't help to hold on to something that's no longer there. It just helps to move on and see what else is in store for you. And the emotions that he used to persuade the audience, like I said, it is similar to what all of us tend to think about. So I can understand where he's coming from, and his example does support his views as to where we need to go when, opportunity is there to just move on and explore new territories. His speech, I thought, was effective and organized because it starts out with the beginning of what he thought of doing, what he thought he was going to accomplish, and to what had happened along the way where it didn't occur to what he had hoped it was going to be, and how it all ended where he moved on only to return back to where he started from, but only a more accomplished person. I believe his body language was very natural. It seems to be very, how do you say? He knew what he was talking about, and he understood everything that was going on, and there was no hesitancy or anything that he couldn't remember. So basically, I enjoyed his speech, and I look forward to seeing or hearing more topics that Rick may have to advise us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean, for a well thought out evaluation. You do not have to apologize for this being your very first evaluation. If you hadn't said that, we would not have realized you did such a good job. You made some keen observations, so don't apologize. And I'll give you a moment to get your timing report so that you can come up and give us your timing report. That will be our next order of business. And then I will give you my opinion as general evaluator of the meeting. Let us welcome Jean Ho for our timer.
Hello again, Carol. Okay, this should be a little bit easier for me since I can look at the information that I have. For Tabletopics, Carol had used 55 seconds in her discussion on, I forgot what it was about. Oh, a cold, a remedy for a cold. And Ram, your timing was 1 minute and 32 seconds. And I believe that had to do with National Anthem, thank you. And Rick, your timing was 1 minute and 30 seconds. And I forgot what that was, but that's what your timing was. And my timing was 1 minute and 34 seconds, so I went overall. No, I went overboard. Okay, for the manual speeches, Ram, your icebreaker was 4 minutes and 29 seconds. And for Rick, your speech was for 7 minutes and 40 seconds. For evaluators, Rick, your evaluation was for 3 minutes and 1 second. And for my evaluation, it was 4 minutes and 12 seconds.
Thank you very much. It's hard enough to time when that is your only job to do. When you have several other jobs to do, being a speaker on Tabletopics and being an evaluator makes it a little more difficult. My overall report, the meeting started pretty much on time, and we did have our banner displayed. One of the courtesy tips, I don't know if you have noticed, Mike Davis is a professional speaker, and when he comes to the lectern, he stands there waiting until the person who just left the lectern sits down. He gets everyone's attention. And that's one of the things that we might want to start practicing, that we don't start speaking until the other person has been seated. That's just a little courtesy tip. When we do our evaluations, this is an encouragement to the speaker. It tells them what they did well, some things that might have made it a little easier to understand, and then tell them what their strengths are. We had very good evaluations this evening. One of the things that Jean may already know that I didn't know, one thing that threw me in Rick's speech, because I know nothing about Harry Potter, so I didn't get the significance of the office under the basement steps. So that was one little thing that you might have pointed out. It might not have been clear to everyone in the audience if you had thought about that. But we do the sandwich method, and with Rick evaluating Rom's speech, he let him know about the movement. Being on camera, you are more confined to being right in front of the lectern, and if you ever want to travel from one side of the stage to the other, we move the lectern out and have a lapel mic that we can use if you want to get stage presence. Overall, for just having 5 people here tonight, I thought we had a very good meeting. We put together at the last minute. We wore many hats. We did well, and we still have one more thing after we are working on nominations for the officers for the coming year. And I will return control back to our president. And you can call me back up. I mean, to our Toastmaster, sorry.
Yes. And we'll do our club nominations off camera.
Right.
Well, I want to thank everyone here in our audience tonight for the multiple roles that you had. Carol mentioned about doing a presentation on television, and you do have to stay within the range of what the camera can see. We can accommodate a bit more mobility when we have more than none as far as our camera people go. And it makes it a little harder when you're also in the director's booth as well as trying to be up here. My arms aren't quite that long. I'm going to turn over our meeting to our presiding club officer. I think he may have 1 or 2 closing comments he'd like to share with us this evening. We hope that you will come and visit us sometime in person. We meet the first Thursday and the third Saturday of each month at 7850 5 Mile Road at the Anderson Community Center. We are in the Anderson Community Television Studio, which is on the lower level towards the back of the building. We certainly would love to have you come and check us out. Rick?
Thank you, Steve. Well, what'd you think? Was it worth sticking there with that remote control in your hand, resisting pressing that button, saying, I'll bet there's something here that I need to hear? And I hope you heard it. I really hope you did. But if you're out there thinking, maybe I could do that. Maybe that's something that would help me in my career, in my extracurricular activities, or just overall something that I'd like to do to improve myself. There's still time in 2014 for you to pull out that goal list, take a look at it and say, oh yeah, there were a few things on that list that I haven't quite gotten to yet. And maybe coming to visit TV Toastmasters might be just that kind of kick in the pants that you might need to get you going. Friendly, comfortable atmosphere where we help one another achieve what it is that we want, to improve ourselves and each other. And we want you to come watch yourself grow with us at TV Toastmasters. You can learn more about us at www.tvtoastmasters.com. That's www.tvtoastmasters.com. My name is Rick Barron. I'm the Vice President of Public Relations for TV Toastmasters, and I close the April 3rd meeting of 2014. Thank you.